Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmed Mian. I'm an architect and an industrial designer, um, founder and principal lead designer of Studio Subtractive. We have, we consider ourselves at par to many other bigger designer firms in Pakistan. We've won multiple awards and accolades from our clients. We were set up in 2011. My background is that I was born in Karachi. My my love for architecture actually came from my father. My father's name was Saghir Mian. He of course passed away a few years back. He was a contemporary of actually Habib Fidali and Yasmin Lari when they all were studying in England. And my father was actually a sculptor. So Pakistan, even at that time, there were very few sculptors. So Shah Sajjad, of course, was a very good friend and contemporary. So my father did a lot of artwork which was public art. It was not generally for houses or private usage. It was for corporates and for the government of Pakistan. He did a lot of work for government installations. And these were really huge pieces of public art that he had designed and fabricated back in the 60s and the 70s. My father, of course, studied in the UK, in London, and when he came back, a lot of these other artists and architects, they also came back to Pakistan. So my experiences of this profession actually goes way back before I was even born. And I saw him while I was growing up. So my desire for architecture and design was in my genes. I went to grammar school, did my O-levels. Then I joined Indus Valley School in '91. So we were one of the very beginning batches of Indus Valley. And I graduated in '96, worked with Studio Tariq Hassan for around two and a half years. And then I moved abroad. I first moved to London, and then I went to New York to do my master's. I got my master's from the Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York. And I worked in the US for almost 10 years. And then I decided to move back to Pakistan. So architecture, it's a very noble profession. It's not a profession कि आप बहुत young age में आप successful हो जाते हैं. It's a profession that is demanding. It's a profession that takes a lot of experience. And architecture is actually, honestly, is one of the oldest professions of mankind. Go back in the days, जब cave में हम, humans used to live in caves, and they were started decorating the caves, or they started to make it comfortable. So architecture and industrial design or furniture design, these are such old professions because they directly impact humans. And fascinating thing about architecture is that it encompasses not just design or not just one aspect of the architect's mind. It's engineering. It's a lot of engineering, whether it's structure, electrical, acoustics, lighting. It's philosophy. It's economics. It's science. It's art. You name it. It's marketing. It's visionary. So architecture is an all-encompassing profession. And Pakistan is producing really exciting works. I wish there were more exciting works coming out of here. I wish there were more competitions. Honestly, the only way architecture progresses or has progressed in the West is because they've allowed free and fair competitions to take place. Or उस competition से only the best designs and unknown names have come out. and they have become such brilliant architects, or projects have come across. So that is the profession. My professor in New York, he very ironically used to say it's not architecture, it's archi-torture. You know, so it's a beautiful profession, but it has complexities. I guess one is the design itself, the client, the site, the engineering aspects. It's, it takes time for an architect to truly understand the requirements of the client, and it's a conversation. और ये एक राउंड में नहीं होता. A lot of time clients come to us and they say कि अच्छा हम एक sketch बना के दिखा दें. Architecture is not a joke. It's not magic. It is not magic. And I think clients and people out there should also not realize that architecture is magic. It is evolution. It is conversation. It is debate. It takes time for us and the client to understand what is the best solution. So that's one complexity, is to understand, okay, what is the most appropriate solution for a certain problem. Complexities और भी फिर आ जाती हैं. I would say there's financial complexities as well. I don't think architects are paid fairly. I don't think, and a lot of architects, I would feel, very conscientiously suppress their own fee just to get work, and ये बिल्कुल भी नहीं होना चाहिए. There has to be a certain percentage of the cost of project, and that's the basis of your design. And don't do a project. Don't do a project when a client or whoever comes to you for consultancy. Don't do it. Be respectful to the profession. So that's also a very complex aspect, is survivability. A creative person cannot survive if that person is not honored or offered or paid or compensated the right value for the work that they do. Or expectations are humongous from clients or from the profession itself. So people should not expect the Taj Mahal and never even know कि उसके पीछे architect कौन था. How many people actually know who the architect of Taj Mahal was? They say कि हाँ शाहजहां ने बनाया था, but no, well, I'm sure he financed it. He was not the architect. So yeah, I think that's my point of contention towards this profession, or the way it's perceived. Here we are with our team at Team Studio Subtractive. Subtractive started back in 2011, and the premise was that we will do conscientious work, sustainable work. We will look after the environment, and we will do performance-driven architecture and interior design projects. And mashallah, in this span of time, we've developed the best architecture team, the design team in Pakistan. And here we are. So we're architects, interior designers. We got, of course, production teams, 3D visualizers, project management, and we all come together and have done incredible works in the past decade or so. Some of our projects have actually really been given us a lot of recognition because of the type of project or the scale of the projects. For example, Unilever. Unilever, which we did 2-3 years back, was a fascinating project with a program that was unheard of. And Terim was one of the lead designers of that project. There was multiple things going on. There was an agile workspace. There was a very interesting R&D lab, which we call the Design Garage. And it came together as a very, very exciting and very innovative way of looking at workspaces.
Unilever has been a game changer for all of us. This journey was incredibly rewarding and very inspiring. It has enabled all of us, at the office, to think beyond the box, to be very creative. For instance, the first Unilever project that we did was the fourth floor agile space, where we were told to design a space where we're supposed to bring back the factory into the workplace area, but we actually brought the elements of the factory into the space and we design it and we call it the factory space. And similarly, there were other spaces like market and reef space, which was a quiet zone. It has broadened our perspective about designing spaces. We also did the design garage, which was supposed to be the labs for Unilever, but the way it was designed, it looked like a garage or a creative workshop. So we put those all those creative elements together, and we defined the space for Unilever, which is more agile, which is more, people can come together, have collaborative meetings, work together, eat together, and have a wholesome environment at the workplace. So
Yeah, I think good design is always a collaboration of not just the architect but the client.
yeah,
You
agreed.
know, and the debate, the conversation, the opportunities that arise from a client who is willing to break the barriers and bring innovative solutions here in Pakistan. And that, I think that always brings just incredible results. There was another very exciting project that we did, finished almost last year, which was the OICCI, which is a 150-year-old organization. It's the oldest chamber in South Asia. And we were given this opportunity to renovate and retrofit a 100-year-old building near Chandigarh. And it was very exciting the way we approached the design to take a building that's 100 years old and to bring it into the 21st century and beyond, and to completely transform and rethink that architectural space. Anam was leading the design on that front. Anam, you might have interesting facts about that project and complications.
When the project OICCI, the adaptive reuse of the offices of OICCI was launched, it was interesting and challenging. We had to fit in the demands of a modern workplace in a century old building. And what are the demands of a modern workplace? Those are efficiency, technology, acoustics, and wellness. So we had to sensitively integrate all these into a century old building while also respecting the original architecture. So the design strategy was laid out into three parts, three deliberate parts. The first part was actually peeling off the layers of previous disjointed renovations. What we had was a shell and the original essence of the space. And elements like 100-year-old eye girders were revealed, coffered ceilings were revealed, stone masonries were revealed. And then we thought about how are we going to integrate all those elements with the future. So the third part was integrating it with the future. What resulted was a hybrid space, which was part museum and part a modern workplace, where the old and new sort of cohabit. It had all the original elements, but very sophisticated technologies, specifically acoustic and AV technologies, because as the chambers, investors' chambers, the OICCI holds meetings with really sophisticated acoustics and AV technologies, and conference rooms for the same. And the space where the reception was actually treated like a gallery. Strategy or the design proposal, it was not just physical, but it was also symbolic. It actually challenged the often binary notion of preservation versus innovation, because when we think of preservation or adaptive reuse, we generally don't go into innovation. But here what happened, and which was very fascinating, was to see how the old comes and meets the future.
Another very interesting project that we're almost about to complete is a project in Rahim Yar Khan. It's a Unilever project. Unilever has its oldest factory in Pakistan, or one of the oldest factories in Pakistan, is in Rahim Yar Khan, which was established, I believe, right after independence of the country. And we have been asked to redesign and retrofit and rethink their office space within the factory.
We did a lot of research about it, how Unilever has been present before independence, how it, the connection with the Rahimya Khan Sardar. And so we thought about how about we design a space where we reflect the history and the background of Rahimya Khan with Pakistan's legacy and the brand itself. So we started displaying this through our shelving displays. And not just that,
Yeah,
the
architecture is not just about masonry
yeah,
and walls. And we've been doing this for many years now. It's about environmental graphics. It's about stories and murals
yeah.
and paintings, which we've been doing for some time now. And architecture for us has always been about stories. We don't necessarily take architecture or design of a project as purely uh, uh, like a pure sort of architecture project. I mean, it's also about the layering of stories. So we do a lot of research, and then we present those stories about the brand, about the history, about the context, about the country as murals. And we've been doing environmental graphics for such a long time. It's just second nature for us, and it's super integral to the visual impact that we create.
In a similar manner, we have been really questioning and changing the residential briefs as well. You know, the standard sitting, dining. We actually ask clients how are they going to use the space themselves, and this is very consistent with all of Subtractive projects. And I think this is also part of good design, that we actually understand and help the client understand. We don't take their word literally.
And we keep innovating.
Innovating, yes.
The success of a good design platform is that everybody should have a voice. And I think the success of Subtractive is that a lot of times I'm there, but I sort of subtract myself, and everybody has a voice, which is why I believe we've been able to create diversity in our works. It's not flatlined. It's not repetitive or repeated, because there are 15 brains in this office, right? 15 dimag hain. And every mind, yes, we do design in a certain paradigm with a certain conscientious sort of thought. But anytime anybody is given a project, they own it. Um, and I think that's cool, because we all are creative people. We all have a voice. We all have, we have our own fingerprints. No two fingerprints are the same. So why should everything be coming out of a certain design firm start to look very similar? New retail space that we've designed for Matter. It's a company set up by Envicrete. Envicrete is a household name. They've been around for years and years and years. And Fasia did this really exciting, very professional, very controlled project, for somebody who's literally 2 years out of Indus Valley. Of course, kudos goes to Subtractive, that you could be out of school in 6 months and up, you become, like we say in our own terms, aap cheete ban jate hain. So you become really, really, really conscientious and really good at what you do, because this is our life. This is the best we can do in our life. We can't be lawyers, or we can't be businessmen, we can't be politicians. We can be good designers, we can be good problem solvers.
So we had a lot of existing queues actually. that sort of dictated our design philosophy. So the product as well as the existing site. So we had this very unique existing site which was located right next to Frere Hall. So the landscape itself became a very important part of the design, where we wanted to sort of open up a space that was essentially pretty closed off from the site. We opened up a lot of views and sort of created an experience that was not just indoors but also outdoors. So, how it's not just like, products are just there for you to sift through,
It's an experience.
yeah, so how will that product itself look when you sort of apply it to your own space? So that was what our design philosophy was.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. A lot of people, a lot of our colleagues have gone and seen Matter, and they say, "Oh no, it's not subtractive because we're modernists. We we like to subtract and just keep very plain and simple sort of design philosophies." But here at Matter, because they had these really beautiful moldings and cornices, which we had to use. And of course we did it, but because we're modernists, we had a certain sensibility of controlling this opulence per se in a very cool and sophisticated way, right? And that's really, I mean, I think that's really something to be proud of, that we do not follow a certain paradigm. Our paradigms keep shifting as to what the client wants, what the project wants, what the context wants, and
Combining it with our philosophy.
yeah, and you combine it with who we are, and the end result. Almost every project has its own sort of flavor, language, meaning. But I can assure you, all our projects are equally as performance driven, because that's the whole premise of Subtractive, is that you remove what things that you don't really require, but add meaning to it. And meaning is human comfort, like what Terry was talking about. Just everything has to be performance driven and sustainable. We've done a couple of very interesting residential projects here in Karachi. One is the Bilwani residence, which is just a design on 1,000 square yard. But we completely, for many years we've been rethinking the program of a house. For example, there are redundant spaces, or the back part of the house or the rear part of the house, which is always left as an empty space or given to staff quarters and all that. We've always found those spaces to be the most exciting. And for many years, our houses sort of, the planning has flipped. So we use the rear end, the back part of the house as exciting part. So we either put the pool in it, or we put family spaces in that area. The other thing that we've been doing very successfully for many years now is rediscovering the lower levels or the basements of a house. Basements actually, or the lower level, gives you the third floor. It's not just the ground and first, but we actually dig down. And some of our recent projects are very successful, because we've just opened out the lower level up to the elements, to the sky, to the wind, to nature, and we bring in those elements inside the house. So the lower level actually becomes a very cool, very interesting, habitable space. And we're actually, Anam is leading a project that we're doing in Lahore, our first major project, residential project in Lahore. It's in Model Town, and it's very interesting, because the most of the contractors actually have gone from Karachi. Not to say that Lahore doesn't have good contractors, but our we had steel components that were designed, engineered here in Karachi, and fitted in Lahore. So that was very cool. So we like to work with steel. Most of our houses have steel components, and it's the ease of working with steel, and steel allows us to do things that concrete doesn't. And I think in the Lahore house it's very exciting. I mean, it was literally trucked. The components were trucked and assembled within a week. So there's an entire structure of the house was assembled in 1 week, and the house is coming together. It's very exciting uh, part of our portfolio. Few years back, we actually won in 2 categories a design competition for low-income housing. It was arranged by the Institute of Architects, Pakistan, and it was a very heavily participated project um, to rethink, redesign a small, well, I believe it was two. It was like a 80 square yard and 120 square yard plot house archetype that we had to develop, and we interestingly we won in both the categories. So at Subtractive, we don't limit ourselves to the design opportunities that one gets. We like to diversify, and we like to keep thinking, rethinking. We're all together. So I'm also a sailor, so I keep telling my team that this boat is still sailing, and it's and if we sink together. So when we sail effectively, then it's only because we all sail together, right? You can't have 5 people thinking about something else and 10 thinking something else. We're always, mashallah, we've been on the same wavelength, which shows in our in the maturity of our projects. So R&D is a very important aspect of a good design firm. It keeps helping us to evolve our own sensibilities. So this really interesting pet project is, of course, in the mountains of Skardu at around 8,000 feet. Building in the mountains is not easy. Because of the altitude and the resources, water and electricity and gas, and of course the cold and the wind. So all of these factors must push us to rethink architecture. And Aziz has been rethinking for many years now, but I think we're getting there. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Skardu has been a really nice opportunity for me, and I started off with this project when I joined Subtractive, and it has been a really steep curve, I would say, and really pushing the boundaries of software and technical learning and other aspects of program development. So it has been a learning opportunity, and also interestingly, it feeds on to my personal interest of landscape architecture. So I have really been able to feed into that aspect of my thinking and interests and personal sort of development. So I think being in the mountains is a really interesting thing. Being close to nature, working with natural materials, and honestly, it makes you scale yourself with nature. So we are really discoverers on this land, learning about what God has already created. So I think these humongous mountains makes you realize your scale, and
You become humble.
yeah, you become humble. So also the aspect of landscape architecture, that how lightly and humbly we touch the earth. So it has been a very interesting opportunity working with natural materials, with terraces, with landscape, the pathways and different geographies.
And I hope those opportunities keep coming up for us all in this country. There is incredible opportunities. There are incredible locations, whether it's the north or it's the south. Also, we've been working in the industrial sector for many years now, and it's been very exciting because industrial sectors have only very recently started hiring interior designers or architects to reimagine, rethink the factory. And we've done multiple projects in Kurangi, for example, here in Karachi, with the biggest denim producers in the world, to a very exciting project Hamza is leading, which is for Getz Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to the Getz Pharma project being completed. As mentioned before, it's probably one of the largest office spaces in Pakistan, and obviously that had its own challenges. Also because the structure was existing, the Astola facility was already ready. They had two massive floors that were vacant, and they wanted to occupy them for their growing workspace demands. So that challenges were, how do you make such a large floor plate? Like one floor plate was almost 50 to 60,000 square feet. How do you make it usable for 400 to 500 people? How do you bring it down to a human scale? How do you bring in natural light? Acoustics. How do you control sound in such a large space with so many people at once?
Yeah, and interestingly, almost all our projects for the past, I would say, since the Unilever project 6-7 years back, we work with a professional acoustic engineer. We refuse to do workspaces or office spaces without an acoustic engineer. It is such an important part of good performance of a space. If imagine like what Hamza is saying, that in a workspace where you have 600 people, you can't even hear each other, at close proximity. So we work diligently with acoustic engineers, and they design the space for sound.
And also they'll really help with the interior spatial quality. They often add to the quality of the space as well as performance.
Yeah, I mean, good design is graphics, sound,
and also
lights,
we've been very lucky with these
environments.
clients. They actually really trust us. They've let us do what we want to do. They've given us a lot of freedom, even with such a large project.
We need to get opportunities, and we need to keep evolving. Evolution should not it should not stop. It should never stop, right? We should just keep being competitive and
Fighting for a better future.
and do well for our country. Because हम नहीं करेंगे तो और कौन करेगा, right? So I hope those opportunities come, and those it helps us grow in a better direction, and grow in a good direction.